Towards the far post, Riston, and it's in!
Payne, Berisha, Diamante!
Durante with a free header!
And the honour of Western United's first A-League goal goes to a familiar face. Bessart Berisha. It's Connor Payne on the left. Alessandro Diamante, the ball on a string. And
Oh, Diamante!
The Western service crew are celebrating.
Wicked. Now, welcome back to the All Out West podcast, the West United fan podcast, where, because none of the other guys are here, we're drinking tea. It's a tea cast. Welcome to the tea cast. Woo-woo.
It's really a house of two at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
It's a two-people tea party.
Exactly.
This could be taken way out of context.
Yeah, well, that's very Republican of you.
Yes. How has your week been?
Oh, it's been a bit of a ripper. It's a lot of fun. I spent the weekend with my daughter, which is really cool. On Saturday, we went up to the Ballarat game, met up with my mum, my mum's partner, and my sister and her partner. And we went to the Ballarat game. We had lunch. It was a really nice day, bar the fact I could be a eunuch.
Where did you have lunch and why are you a eunuch?
It was that cold. Went to the Red Lion, which is my family like the Red Lion when we go to Ballarat, just a bit of a thing. And yeah, great food as per the norm. Yeah.
Nice. What'd you get?
I got because I don't get to eat a lot of fish, I had the battered barramundi.
Nice.
Yeah. People on the table got some steakies. And then there was the cauliflower steak that looked pretty solid. You know me, I do like a bit of vegetarian food. And yeah, it's pretty solid. Lovely day. The weather was a bit chilly, but other than that, not a lot. Great seeing your team get smashed 3 times in a calendar week. Yeah.
Like, it's 5 in a row now. Bit tough.
Oh, yeah. I think it's 4.
Is it? Actually, it might be.
I think it's 4, draw. It's been a while since a win.
Something like that. Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a bit shit. What a week in the A-League. From City being 3 points off the premiership and Paddy cracking the shit when Wellington scored, to Perth obliterating West Sydney Wanderers 5-1, which I wasn't expecting that. I thought West Sydney Wanderers were on a bit of a
Well, especially after Western Sydney Wanderers pumped us 5-0. Perth only beat us 3-0.
Yeah,
and then they went and pumped Western Sydney.
There's a lot of disparity and that short turnaround time for Perth as well. Including, did you see the insane goal? I sent it to the group chat of Andy Keogh just lobbing one over the keeper's head from halfway.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's
one you sent through. Yeah. No, good goal.
Yeah, solid.
Perth are finding form at the right time.
That's the thing, and I think City have done this as well, is not try to burn out too quickly, like your CCMs, and no discredit to CCM. I would have loved to have seen them get the premiership this year, which if Melbourne City get 3 more points, they got their first proper trophy. Because the time they got the FFA Cup, it wasn't what it's going to be, which I think the next stage of the FFA Cup is where it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for CCM, though, I think they kind of had to come out hard and fast and try and make the finals and catch everyone by surprise before they got figured out. I think they've done the right strategy, but I agree, it's much better to go the other way, ease yourself in and kill it in the back half.
Yeah, but it's a hard one because you never know what people are going to be doing with injuries and whatnot. What was your highlight? Any preference in the A-League this week? Or
in the A-League?
Yeah, or just around?
I mean, anytime someone scores 4, it's pretty bloody, it's pretty good, especially when you have a goal like
Keogh,
yeah. Look, the highlight for me was, unfortunately being injured and not having to go to Ballarat to freeze.
Yeah,
supporting the boys from the couch, it was much easier for me.
Yeah, because you've had your leg injury. Do you know what my highlight was?
What?
It's good to see the referees giving back to poor Sydney. I was worried about them. I was worried about the game's metrics because without victory, they need another one of the big teams to be there.
Yeah, because if Sydney or Victory aren't there, did the grand final happen?
I don't know. It's like if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it.
We'll get to the actual decision later, but look, I've got a non-A-League highlight.
Yeah.
And that is played 38, won 32, drew 6, lost 0, points 102, goals for 92, goals against 13. That's a 78 goal difference. Wait, there's more stats. Let's go to the crazy home stats. Played 19, won 19, 57-4, 4 against. That's a 53 goal difference. 26 clean sheets. Scored in 37 out of 38 games in 9 years, starting from the bottom of the lowest division to winning their 55th title in an invincible season by 25 points. Rangers.
I'm going to say this: if this form keeps up for West United, let's make this the Down Under Rangers cast.
Yeah, we might have. Nah. Always support the Woo Boys, but
Yeah,
I
I
just
know.
thought that's a pretty impressive feat. They lost 3 games all year, 2 in normal time, 1 by penalties. Doesn't matter that it's considered a pub league. They still do pretty well against in the A-League. Let's just put it that way.
Definitely.
Still an impressive record.
Wicked. Now, our tea of the week is the old Twinings English breakfast. We might have to get some snazzy teas
We might have to.
for like the off weeks where it's just you and I, buddy. I might go down to T2, get something fancy, get a little those little jugs that you can pour. I don't know.
Yeah, or even those little ones where you put them in the little holder and then you put it in your cup.
You're getting a bit crazy, man.
Look, they're cheap. They're like $2.
This is like when the Melbourne fan had like a cheese platter in the stands.
Yes, we are essentially that.
How much did you spend on Spanish ham recently?
Let's
at
not
South
go
Melbourne
into
Market?
that.
Now, let's go into a bit of team news. And there hasn't really been anything out there at the moment, but someone on Reddit brought this to everyone's attention. And I'm going to butcher the names here.
Did you say Reddit?
Yeah, Reddit.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
Yeah. So, beloved Western United player Tomoki Amai was recently interviewed by vlogger Yu Hasegawa. And someone on A-League Reddit translated it all. They casually were driving around, I think it was Perth, in a car talking. It was really cool to see, and they were in their native tongue. But here's some things Tomoki Mai had to say about Australia. People are really kind. He's been to Australia twice before, during a school vacation and his honeymoon. So he's got a bit of a connection here. Thanks to immigration, people here are quite receptive to non-English speakers. And he emphasised that people talk slow and take their time to explain things. He joined Western United as a trainee in Feb 2020. Expectation was to train for 2 weeks, watch a game, go back to Japan and wait to hear back. He did really well during training and he signed up after a week and was a starting member of the match he was supposed to just spectate. So obviously they've seen something amazing in him.
I thought we need to put him in here.
I'll keep going because there's some really cool stuff here. I thought it was a really nice insight to see him just reflect on his time in Australia because this is something you and I wouldn't understand because we grew up here. So I really love hearing.
But having been to other countries where you're not native to their tongue, it is real. Like you gain more of a respect when it goes the other way here.
Yeah.
Like you learn that bit more patience because like when you go over there, they're a lot more patient with you. Like I don't think I've ever had anyone rude to me when I haven't been able to speak the language. As long as I've done the simple words like whatever hello is in their native language, goodbye and then thank you in their native language.
So Corona started when his family was preparing to come over in March. He was grateful that the club looked after him, allowed him to go back to Japan to see his family during the league postponement, and the club sorted him out in regards to coming back in for the league restart. So they're taking care of him because he's obviously got different needs to other players.
I think that's one thing we were really good with when COVID hit was looking after the players.
Yeah.
Like we did that deal with Diamante. We let Kone go. I think didn't another player.
Scott's favourite?
Didn't he leave technically before COVID though?
Yeah, but it was influence. He was partying it up in Croatia like a week later. Yeah, so I think it's good to hear that feedback. You know what I mean? It's just really cool. His transfer market is awkward for J-Leaguers. Thanks to the delayed A-League start, it matched up well for Japanese players this way around. So it's probably why you've got Riku Dinzaki. I forget the guy from Perth, but he's really good. He smashed us. So normally the transfer market would be out of sync. So why would an A-League club pick up a contracted Japanese player who can't speak English, especially if you can get someone from Europe? So that's a really good insight as to maybe why we aren't getting more J-League players here.
Yeah.
Just because of the way our league's set up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we don't really match a lot of the Asian
No.
countries.
We've always teed up with the Premier League, which is always...
European football in general.
Yeah. When we're in the... you think you'd have benefit being in the Asian Champions Leagues to have our team... Yeah, just...
That correspond with where we belong.
Yeah. In the world, geographically.
Yeah.
It's like if we had...
Laterally.
It's like if we called winter summer just for Christmas, even though the weather's clearly summer.
Yeah, and clearly hot.
For Japanese players, it's a really good environment. You can study English. There's no real time zone difference. In regards to the leagues, Australia is more physical, but Tomoki likes it. The interviewer said he gets done over physically, but doesn't get recognised as a foul when it happens. Umai is called the machine by his teammates.
He's a machine.
He's a beast. I've thought that many times. To some of the jumps he's done to header a ball or whatever, he could be an AFL.
Or even a blocker ball.
Yeah.
Like the way he's thrown himself into blocking a ball.
Yeah, it's...
And like we met him on the boat. He's a very respectful person.
Yeah, quiet, polite. Yeah, just a little... don't you just...
Not afraid to jump over a dock.
You know those things like when you find out a little bit more about a player, you're like, man, he's just a good dude.
Yeah, he is.
This is a little fun tidbit, and I really enjoyed this, was last season, May injured his ankle during the game. He was icing it post-game, and Rudan was asking, what are you doing? Just drink some booze and it'll heal. Amai was surprised. A manager would even say that, laughing, think it's cultural difference. There's a bunch of other stuff. An interview with a Japanese player from Perth. I've spaced on his name. Put a link in the description to this vlogger. Do you want to move on to NPL?
Yeah, move on. If I'll get the Perth guy's name in the meantime.
That's cool. So on Friday the 14th of May, West United NPL 3 team took on Preston at their home ground for a 1-1 draw in front of over 3,000 people. More than the Ballarat game this Saturday and the Jets game combined.
Kosuke Oda.
Yeah. Are you just looking from the score sheet from the Perth game?
He got a yellow card.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on the 1-1 draw for the NPL 3 team?
I think it was a great result, considering both teams going in undefeated. We're away. Preston on top by points and goal difference, if I'm not mistaken.
By one goal.
Like, they're a good side. They have a good support base.
But it also goes to show how well we've recruited in the NPL capacity and the team there. So it's really good. I want to give the boys a shout out. We'll have more information on them next week. Injuries? Joshy Risdon still
I reckon
out.
we'd just write Risdon out for the season, essentially.
And Markovic, we might see for a game. But we've got 4 games left for the season, pending finals. And
well, unless we go bad out from here.
Yeah. Do you want to do around the grounds?
So Australian Joe Montemero, who is set to be announced as the new Juventus women's coach. The former Arsenal women's boss is set to be officially announced as Juve's new manager once his duties are complete with the English club. Now, this is a bit of a shock because Arsenal assumed he wanted to come back home.
Wow.
So this is a bit of a surprise, and he was actually a lifelong Arsenal fan. So, and it's looking like Juve have done a bit of a poach job here because they want him to try and win the Women's Champions League. Apparently, Juve are quite frustrated their women's team haven't gone that next step. They believe their women's team have the capacity and the ability to be that next step, and they think he can lead that. I actually think it's a very good step for him because at the moment, you'd argue in England at the moment, Chelsea and Man City are probably a little too strong in terms of what they're able to resource and that for their women's team. So at least he can go to a team that'll be resourced. He's highly respected in the women's coaching game. He's been sounded out for the Matildas job before. Obviously, he's done well in Australia with Man City women's team. Like, that's a very good...
You mean Melbourne City?
Sorry, yeah, Melbourne. What did I say?
Man.
Oh, my God. Yeah, well, same thing, really. They're owned by the same people.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think it's amazing to see an Australian coach doing well, and that's huge. Like, what do you think his career is going to be on like that? Do you think he will stay a women's coach? And I'm not negating being a women's coach.
He's actually done some interviews on this. I remember when he got signed for Arsenal, they spoke about that. And he sees no difference between the two games.
Nor do I. Like, that's...
He's just as happy managing the women's game as he is the men's game.
If anything, I think the development of the women's game is one of the most interesting things as a fan at the moment.
Well, Chelsea's manager, Fran Kirby... not Kirby... I can't think of her name right now, but she they were poaching her for wanted to poach her for a League 2 team in the men's game, and she's like, why would I go do a lower division men's team when I'm managing in the top division
women's?
There's no difference.
But that shows the backwards mentality
treating one different to the other.
Yeah,
but no, I think it's a huge coup for him personally. Like, it's a great maneuver and well done.
Snap.
Like, you shafted your boyhood club, and
there must have been some good coin.
That's a power move.
But that's a big opportunity. Like, I don't think I could. I think if that come to me, like, hey,
the biggest team in Italy, and it's because they clearly want to win the top prize. He's got to do it. If they're going to resource him to do it, how could you turn it down?
No.
Western Sydney have confirmed the departure of forward Simon Cox, who is set to return to the United Kingdom to be with his family. Fair enough.
This is kind of a crazy thing because he didn't go back when his first child was born 6 months ago. And he didn't really get much game time.
Again, power move. Don't have to do all those late nights.
I think the club kept him here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised too. But I'm just saying power move. Like, sorry, honey, can't do anything. Love to be there.
What? Sorry, my boss is calling. I can't come change the nappy.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You're in Australia. Oh, sorry, I can't
It's a
help.
time difference. Yeah, you've called me at a bad time. It's night time here. No, it's night time in the UK. Beep. Power move. Tony Popovic and Melbourne Victory are rumoured to have offered Croatian goalkeeper Ivan Kalava a 2-year deal. The 33-year-old plays for Xanthi, where Popovic was recently sacked. So you must just rate him.
Gonna get the band back together. Sorry, Jimmy Barnes. That's a terrible song. Do you think they watch Blues Brothers too many times?
Look, it's not his best work. It's a clear cash grab. He's in the Farnham years, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's well played called.
So A-League rights. Paramount Plus is set to launch this week in Australia. I heard it was actually going to be in August when it launched.
I could be wrong. I had a little bit of a jot down.
It might be getting introduced now. I think by August. And are interested in the A-League rights. Paramount is the parent company of the local Channel 10, which is owned by CBS in America. If I'm not mistaken.
CBS is the parent. Yeah, same shit.
Yep. And would have the free-to-air on the channel. So I reckon this is a good bidder to put in. It's a serious bidder.
I think from a marketing standpoint, it has a lot of options, but I have a lot of concerns because I believe, from my understanding, that Paramount currently have the WWE rights in the US. They lost the WWE network. WWE licensed their back catalogue to them.
No, that's Peacock.
Is that Peacock? Okay, I
Yeah.
take it back. But they shit the bed there. But on that note of Paramount, they pretty much only have Star Trek.
Yeah, they've bought a lot in America. I know, like they've pulled back a lot of their back catalogue into showing that for Paramount films, and I believe they have a lot of like MTV stuff.
MTV, Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that kind of.
Which there was a lot of cross-pollination between Disney and Nickelodeon anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm using a hand gesture of collaboration.
Yeah. Well, now Disney, they either own you or they crush you.
Or they'll crush you then buy.
So the Victorian government has announced a $116 million purpose-built centre for the Matildas in the lead-up to the Women's World Cup. The federal Liberals only ponied up $15 million. 5 pitches will be added to the La Trobe Uni Bundoora Sports Park centrepiece and will be a 100-seat marquee pitch. I think this is great for development. Shudder they didn't want to buy in on the Western United front.
It's
Given the
interesting
club's
that
ambitions.
wasn't Melbourne City set up at La Trobe Uni?
Yes. In Bundoora? Yes.
I'm interested. It's great to see the state government make this much of a contribution.
For women's sport.
Which is good. I think that's a really good initiative. Any money into football in this country is good, especially for the women's game. What's next, Kelsey?
That's it for Around the Grounds this week. All right. So let's go into the first game of v Perth. What do you reckon?
This was a really difficult game to watch. And initially, especially after loss to Western New Wanderers, I was really hoping we came back with a bit of a vengeance. But I think travel and this schedule, it's caught up to us so badly at this point.
And Redan sort of pointed to that too.
Yeah, and I know some of the fact that scheduling is our issue as well, being based in Victoria and not having our own purpose-built stadium. Scheduling has been a shocker over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, and look, we sort of knew this day was coming when we had all those home games early on.
Yeah.
Like, it was eventually coming this day. Look, I would have liked to have seen a bit more fight.
Yeah. Everyone looked
like a bit of
lethargic.
wounded pride type thing. But, they just seem that flat, like they can't even get up for it at the moment.
I really would like to see in these kind of situations is moving away from that designated starting 11, even though we're not as dynamic. But shit, if Diamante's not running the full 90, Barisha's obviously not running the 90.
Well, going into that, what did you think of the lineup? We had Bess up the front, Diamante just behind that.
It's always good to see Lockie Wales in that front kind of wing role.
Yeah, Wales has had a blinder.
I still think he's doing well. Connor Payne wasn't bad for the day. We were still hemorrhaging possession, and just the fatigue came through. Like,
That is the big thing between last year to this year is we can't seem to hold on to the ball.
Yeah,
Last year we used to try and, we almost held on too often. Now we just can't even...
I think I've written on there how much possession we had.
60% possession and 5 shots on target.
It was pretty dismal. It's better than that game when we had...
But
think
I know
was
it says we had 60%. I don't think we did. I reckon we lose the ball quite...
We were happy to hold ball and pass back and do nothing with it. I feel we're lacking attacking confidence at the moment.
Yeah, we used to hold the ball but still progress up the pitch. I guess to clarify, the moment it seems if we're holding it, it's in the defensive third.
It is inherently that Simpsons meme at that moment. You know that it's not a meme, but
Centre passes to the wing to centre.
You know what I mean? Like we constantly, all of our back line get a touch. Generally, Scott gets one too. Like his passing, the amount of passes he does during games is insane. Yeah. I just am we need to gain that confidence going forward, and we may be at the point where we need to focus on next season.
Well, even being speaking of how flat we were. You could even see, even Ryan Scott was flat in this game, and he hasn't had to put a foot wrong.
No, this was his worst game, and he still did decent for the situation.
It was still a good, no way am I ragging him out on this. I'm just saying, even he was flat and couldn't put in his usual performance.
He made 7 block shots. Just put in perspective, that's pretty... And he let in 3, again... It is his fault for not it's his fault. It's a team effort to lose by that.
Well, I believe Rudan blamed him for 2 of them and was looking at dropping him.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Whether it happens or not, but
yeah, we have the benefit of hindsight because 2 games have happened.
But I also think Rudan might regret putting him on the roast. I think maybe he just wanted a bit of a response out of Ryan Scott. I don't think he was actually going to drop him. I think it might be let me say this. He'll feel like he's still in a bit of jeopardy for his spot. Hopefully it'll get a rousing response out of him.
But that's what you need in keepers. You need someone that can come on and do a decent job. You need them
at a moment's notice.
So they don't get complacent. And that, I think, showed a bit of nous on the next game. But it was a bit of a disappointing game from a defensive perspective as well. We actually did pretty well in yellow cards for this point. But we did concede 14 fouls, though. It was just a fatiguing game to watch. And yeah, it's not much. I don't have much to say about it because really Fornaroli, amazing goal. Keogh, solid goal. I'm not mad at the situation. I would like to see my team win, but we were bested on the day. There's no way around it.
And Perth are in form. Look what they did to
West Sydney Wanderers.
They murdered them.
Yeah, Economides had a good one. Chianese. Who did I say?
I said Keogh.
Yeah, the Keogh was freaking the other game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's too much A-League at the moment. It's hard to keep up, but yeah.
Festival of football.
Fornaroli's one was amazing.
Yeah.
Economides, he's always been talent, and yeah, they put us to the sword for being lethargic and fatigued.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to talk about the game? Because I know you're a big fan of it.
Look, I think we've covered it. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah, I don't
want to be a fan who hates on the club for losses happen.
Yeah,
and we're in the middle of a bad patch. All we can do is support them. I think it'll turn around.
And that's the point of what we do as a podcast. There's no point being negative. We highlight issues. For instance, we want to see if we're going to be thrown to pillar to post, let's see some squad rotation. Let's if we're going to lose, let's put freaking Duzal on, get him blooded up.
Let's see where we're going with this. And here's the thing. As of this one, what was this one? This was our 3rd loss in a row?
Yeah.
Look, do we need to stop the slide? Yes. Do I believe we can turn it around? Yes. Do I think it'll be this season? Not so sure. But,
but on that
I have faith in them and I'll keep supporting the boys.
Definitely. Do you want to do Player of the Year?
Well, I suppose you've got the mail-in votes.
For the Perth game, Jay had, I'll just preface this with saying Leb and Jay had the same votes. Shout out, guys. Hope you're both well. 3 to Amai, 2 to DP, 1 to Payne. I had, and I did mine a little bit, 3 to Amai because I think he's solid. He's probably our best defender.
He was probably the consensus best on for that one.
Yeah. And then I did 2 to Shepherd because we didn't talk about this or whatnot, but Duzal and Shepherd were subbed late into the game. I think it was the 82nd minute, as is convention, when you're 3 down to sub people in after 82 minutes of nothing happening.
82 minutes seems like a plenty of time left to make an impact.
Let me just confirm that. 82.
You are correct.
That is the Rudad special. Let's give him 8 minutes. Let's
See what they can do. Plus injury time.
Yeah. So
why'd you give Shepherd the 2?
he had one of our best chances on goal. He had a header on goal from memory. And that, to me, was probably the highlight of the game. And Duzel. He's good.
So you go to Dizelle as well?
Yeah, one to Duzel. Yeah. The best chances we had was from those two, other than Wales.
Which says a lot considering I did it in 8 minutes. You know what? Look, obviously I'm going to go to Moki. I think everyone's got Amai as the overall consensus pick there. You know what? I've really struggled on this one. I've really found it hard to give out votes. And I didn't want to do what I did with the Western Sydney where I only gave out 1 because it wasn't 5-0 and it wasn't an absolute mugging. You've kind of convinced me of your arguments, but I'll swap them around. I'll give Dizelle the 2. And it was Shepherd, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give him the 1.
Like, it doesn't affect the standings, really.
No, it doesn't. And you know what? It gets him on the sheet.
That's exactly right. To be honest, Cavalo should be getting like things. He literally had an article come out while saying recycling players is good. Dude played freaking 6 games for us. I think no senior games at City, and they're calling him a recycled player. Sorry, there's few things I will let stand in this world. That's paying out of the Cav Daddy.
Yeah, and only a couple of weeks ago, man of the match.
Well, that's my point. That they were using him as an example of why recycling is good. How is he recycling? Yeah. He only just got his first professional
He's a young
contract.
kid wanting to get an opportunity. He couldn't get one at Melbourne City, came to Western United, found he wasn't probably going to get the opportunity he was looking for here, asked to go to Adelaide. He didn't do a Barbarousis.
He didn't do a Burgess.
You know what I mean? He respected in the club and said, look, am I going to get the opportunities? He was told he wasn't. Is it okay if we go our separate ways? He did it.
That's respectful.
Same with Stammer.
Yeah.
There's a way you can do it. There's been no hate, no animosity. We even let McDonald go.
Yeah. That was a bit. I think that went through the ringer though.
Yeah, that was more about the whole he can't play against this thing.
That's some shithousery. I love that still. But let's move on. Yep. Let's move on to the next game. Do you want me to cover this one? On Saturday, 15th of May, Western United went to Mars Stadium for the final time of the regular season. What was a beautiful day in Ballarat, rumoured snow the day before, and the afternoon sun that day delighted patrons in a beautiful 8 degrees.
Felt like 4.
It really.
So it was the coldest game since 80s.
Wow, really?
And only in Victoria, and only the second, and it was the second coldest game in history, second coldest game in history.
Wow.
So Canberra obviously holds the record. It's Canberra. So yeah, it was cold.
Wow. That's a good thing. We took on, obviously, Sydney FC. What were your thoughts? Sorry?
So what's Sydney's nickname again? What do they call themselves?
Referees?
The
Smurfs?
The Varsity Blues?
That's that. I was relieved when I saw the squad sheet that day to see Barisha not in a starting striker role.
I think we're all happy to see him get a break.
Yep. And that's when we've talked negatively towards Barisha. It's not because we think he's bad or anything. We think he needs A, rest, B, we need to try something different because it's obviously not working what we're doing. And I was really relieved to see Wales in that striker position. I think he had a pretty good game considering.
Although we didn't have a blinder, I was happy to see Ika as well.
Ika. I don't feel like we've utilised him enough this season.
But and like I said, it wasn't his greatest game by any stretch of the imagination. But I was glad to see him on there getting a crack.
Yeah, 100%.
Because otherwise, what's the point of bringing him over?
Yeah, I don't understand why we haven't played him more this season. And our reliance, and this is going to sound bad, but our reliance on Dylan Pieris and Lockie Wales really shows.
Now, I'm going to check this. I'll double check this stat, but I'll tell you what a highlight was for me.
Okay.
Victor Sanchez. I believe he got his 11th yellow of the season. I'm pretty sure it was 11, and he is now going for the equal record.
Oh, no way. I didn't watch the telecast because I was at the game. You miss out these handy hints.
Yeah, so I'll confirm that. We'll keep going on, and I'll confirm the stat, but I'm pretty sure he's now, because I believe 13 is the record in a season. He's got 4 games to get 2 red cards to tie, 3 to break.
I remember in the game before they talked about Sanchez. They're like, he's not a dirty player. He's just a rough player. Like,
And it's not just that, he'll do the team thing. And he gets... a lot of the times it's more accumulation of fouls as opposed to... Okay, look, it's as equal that as it was savagery. but
yeah, that's really good. It was an interesting game, and I'm not going to say we didn't dominate possession. We had 44% of it, but I think we played better than the previous 2 games.
yeah, and that win in the first, although we were dominant, was very brutal. Like, and, Sydney, we were lucky Sydney didn't capitalise on it,
Yeah.
to be honest.
It was a very interesting game for that on that perspective. There was some really good runs. It was good to see some stuff happening, but I felt we lacked it in finishing.
Yeah.
We had trouble getting it into the box and knowing what to do with it. And I feel this is from the way we've used Pieris and Lockie Wales this whole time, which is getting them to run down and then kick into Barisha.
Yeah.
And you take Barisha out of that equation, they're not used to trying to score. And when they do, you see the finishing that isn't as solid. They're good for the off point, and this is where Barisha as a foil really, really works.
Yeah, exactly.
When they've got that pressure on them, then
it goes the other way.
it shows how many tricks they have. But that's a developmental thing.
Look, yeah, we were definitely better in this game. We weren't as lethargic. I think, even just one night in our bed seemed to have made a bit of a difference.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's going to be a little bit better.
Sydney played us very well. They were very good at pressing on us, to be in fairness. Like, they did not give us time or space at all.
No.
Especially on Diamante.
Nah. But that's the thing. Diamante's ability to affect a game has been minimised because people know what he's going to do. And last season, he could make a risky move by lobbing the ball across the ground to Payne.
Yeah,
But they know they're going to do that. Now they know he's going to do that.
So they know to try and get someone up there.
Not just that, they are marking him and putting more pressure on him so that if he does make it, he's got to make riskier and riskier crosses or long balls,
the
whatever.
scarier part, though, is he's pulling a lot of them off even with this extra pressure.
But is he, though? How many are connecting to people?
I'm just saying, but he's still getting some across, more than what you would think.
Oh, definitely. I'm not saying he's bad.
No, I'm not saying he's bad at all. I'm just saying, it's really bizarre that, he's getting that much attention and pressure and he's still able to pull
Oh, he's
the
doing some
ball on a
amazing
dime.
but he's doing some amazing shots. But that pressure is also leading to turnover.
Yeah, it is.
It's-
Or it's putting... They know where he's going to pass it, so they're getting pressure on the next person
Yeah.
to get the turnover. It's making him almost null and void at times.
Exactly. It's making a predictable game
And
plan.
He needs a few... Maybe we need... Because, you don't get rid of a Diamante. You just don't.
No.
But maybe he needs a bit more protection or something helping to help him a bit more to free up that space.
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
think that's what's missing. I think that's where we were doing a bit better earlier, was when Gorachena was almost as threatening as him
Yeah.
in terms of passes or taking it on. So it was like, which way do we go? Who do we...
Do you think that is because of the play or the strategy, or is that just how those players are performing?
I think it's more the performance. I mean, I don't see how they've... I mean, maybe Redan has changed how he play, but I don't get why he tinkered with what was working.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking the question.
Tinker, why did he tinker with what was, in effect, working? Yeah, I still like it going back all the way to the... I don't understand the turn we've had since the Melbourne City game where we won. We come from behind. We dug in deep and that's sort of like a momentum turner. But instead of going up, we seem to have...
The expectation that we'll win by digging in deep has kind of become a mentality.
And I think it's just ground everything to a halt. I mean, the one thing I will say this year is even despite this game, we've played Mars pretty well
Yeah,
in every game.
yeah. Which is good.
And I think that was probably the one thing that stopped Sydney from actually pumping us. I also think this year it struggled with the lack of home.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Wellington are obviously clearly going through it as well. Not saying poor us or anything like that. But I think that's really struggled with their mentality a bit.
Yeah.
You'd be looking at the fixture every week going, all right, where am I this week?
Not just that, the amount of fixtures per week. So playing 2 to 3 games in 7 days. That's
You look at it this way. By the end of the season, we'll have been everywhere but the Northern Territory and Canberra.
We often seem gassed, yeah. And fatigue had obviously, since the last game, been really hitting us hard. But I feel we bounced back quite well. A defining moment of the game came down to a controversial handball when the ball appeared to come off Voytz's thigh and then hit his hand. Now, you watched the game. I only watched as it happened, and I'm like, didn't see it, but whatever. It took they literally continued play. Then the umpire had to review it.
Well, yeah, originally he cleared it, then got called back again to review it.
The play had gone on.
So I know they're not meant to look at the VAR until the play actually stops.
Yeah.
And they get a chance to review it. But I believe, like I said, the weird thing is that, from what my understanding is, the refs had heard about the incident, didn't think anything of it, then got called back. So it's like he'd already made his decision. But they're like, oh, no, you need to change your decision, which I didn't think
They should be doing.
or could be doing.
I know, it just seemed like an interference in the game.
Look, consistency point of view, it happened to Sydney literally the week before.
But this same thing has happened to other teams and it not be called.
But I was going to say, hang on, that brings me to my
Inconsistency.
next point. But it's still inconsistent because when you compare it to the other ones, Adelaide seemed to get away with that quite a bit, especially at Coopers,
Yeah.
as an example. No hate, you take the breaks as you get them. But
Yeah. But that's even Sydney was surprised to have gotten that. So it
Yeah.
was a very surprising thing to happen. And side note, good to have Alfie back, LaFondra.
Now, look, I know it was outside the box and VAR can't call it back, but I don't understand how the ref then missed the deliberate handball by the Sydney player later on, where he literally put his arms up like that. So, just so you know, for viewers who obviously can't see me, his hands were up at his face.
I thought you were just defending a cup of English breakfast.
I loved my English breakfast.
Me too.
But,
But honey, how good. But yeah, but the thing is, on that day, and I'm not sure, obviously one-eyed supporter watching the game, it felt like everything was free kick Sydney.
But it felt like it was, we buggered up last week, Sydney. Here's your one back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, we owe you a debt. Here's your payment. And, it was a bit unlucky for Voitza, but like I said, consistent-wise, when playing Sydney, it was consistent. Consistency-wise across the league, it's confusing. And this is a problem. I think VAR's creating more problems, and we've said it every week. It's causing more problems than it's solving.
It has really felt like a really inconsistent season. Do you think that comes down to maybe efficient, the officials we have doing it, maybe they're fatigued as well? I'm taking a step back. The increase in games and fatigue and travel.
Do you think also, with that, how many games are in different spots? You can't always fly the same people around.
No.
So do you think maybe there's people who maybe aren't as well trained, don't have the experience, we'll say.
Yeah.
And the other way you get experience is by having these moments, of course. Maybe if they come out, I don't know if that's the case, but if it is the case and they could just say, hey, look, a bit of a shortage. We're putting on people who are qualified, but not as seasoned or experienced. I think everyone can understand that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who we haven't spoken about in this game, and after Rudan talked about dropping him, and that was Ryan Scott, who
Definitely.
was much improved. Can't blame him for conceding on a penalty. He commanded his box a lot more in this game, made some very good saves. I think they had a ridiculous corner stat in the first half too, Sydney.
Oh, just in general, they were, I was watching the game it was just a good watch across the board.
What was it like actually there?
It wasn't a bad day. It was actually the best experience I've had at Mars Stadium because the previous one I'd had before wasn't very good in retrospect. But this was quite good. My only con for the day, and I took my daughter, who's 4, and we still try to use the parent rooms. None of them were open. Just as a side note, that was very difficult trying to take a 4-year-old girl into a male toilet.
It's a tough.
Yeah, exactly. So that for me was probably the worst part of the day. But on that note, though, they actually had the bar and bistro open properly that day. Shout out Sonia from the supporter group for setting that up for everyone. There's a couple of food carts. There's 30% off merch, but it was a much better setup. You could choose where you sat this time, so we're a few bays over from Active, which was nice. There was a few Sydney supporters rock up as well, which was good.
What were they like?
I didn't talk to many.
Fair
any,
enough.
but some of the other guys did. No hate there. They had fun. I think it was the best game I'd been to at Mars Stadium.
just not the right result.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really good to see a lot of people out in Woo gear. The kids were out. Yeah, it was a really good day in Ballarat. The weather was a bit of a tough one, but I think it's helped change my perspective on winter football of me being like, shit, I'd probably rather drink in the summer. Yeah, I wasn't drinking that day, obviously, because I drove.
Not
but
a fan of winter football?
nah, like, where sells stouts on tap?
That's the problem. We don't have the right beer for it.
You know what I mean? And we serve beer at such a cold temperature in winter. You know those things that
Yeah, it's like, here it is, -2 degrees.
here's Carlton Mid. Enjoy, big fella. Or would you like Great Northern? If you don't like that, you get my point. I don't think we serve the right beer for winter
How
football.
about some West End with South Australian water?
Isn't that closing down?
We can only hope.
I haven't had it yet. I might have to do it before. Is it worse than EMU Export?
It's got South Australian water in it.
Yeah. Anything else to add to this game?
Not really. Look, what do you say? Like, we lost, but I thought we played well despite the loss. It was a penalty at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is what it is. Move on.
You know, look, do we need, like we said last game, this is now 4 in a row. Do we need to stop the slide? Yes. Do I think we can do it? Yes. Do I think it'll be this season? I don't know.
But we've got 4 games up and...
We basically have to bat out from here.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. I just like to say shout out to Ryan Scott. He had a really good game.